Alright, this video is for my friends at Trouble Free Pools. I'm going to walk you around my Intex above ground pool and deck and some of the modifications I've made to it. Just going to go around once. So the yard had a lot of slope to it, so I had to dig back level and take out a lot of dirt before I put the pool in, which left a large gap. Kind of go down to that angle. And you look down along the side, if you can see it, it's kind of like that all the way around. So to start with the deck, I put posts at each T-joint of the pool because I wanted to have a lot of strength for a ladder. So this is a dock ladder that I installed hanging off of the end a little bit because the dock ladders go back under the dock apparently. So I had to add a new hole here on each side, and then that was the existing slot, and then I have a piece of angle iron going out to the edge to support it. So I rounded the edges some. I haven't finished it. I'll probably powder coat it to match. But underneath that, there is a lot of support all the way back to here. Okay. Another thing that I'm doing, the deck's supposed to continue around from here and go around that back side to cover up the pool equipment, which is back there, the pumps and such. But that's phase 2. That'll come later. Okay. One thing I did with the to use the original cover from Intex, it's kind of tricky to get on and off. I learned after the first few times in the heat on a few tips and tricks to do it better. One is to mark your beginning point right there so that you always know to start in the same spot. And using a C-clamp really helps to do it by yourself. So you put one clamp here as you work around the pool to the other side, and I have a clamp over there. So just in case you do need to walk away, it won't just all shrink up and then sink, especially if it's dirty on top like this is. Also, once you get it installed in a good spot, put a letter T at each of your T's. And that way, as you're putting it on, you know how much to stretch it to get it lined up so that you don't end up with it being short on one end and then you have to pull a lot of slack all the way around. So as you're pulling it, you basically get the T on each post and it goes around just fine. Oh, and this is the foam that I put underneath the Lowe's insulation foam. I'll give it a squeeze. You can see kind of the pool compressed probably half of that foam up underneath there, but it still gives a nice padding. Where I live in Alabama, there's a lot of clay and a lot of rocks that just sit in the clay and just kind of poke out and eventually work their way up. So that's hopefully just to stop those. Okay, so the 20 by I think it was 52 pool came with its own cartridge filter. I went ahead and just bought the standalone unit that they have, the chlorinator, which doesn't really put out that much chlorine, but it's a decent setup for the price that it is. I keep this on it just to keep the sun from doing too much damage with the UV until I get a cover put around the whole thing. Moving on over, I put these around the outside because I was getting a lot of washout. I could put a shoring wall in here, but I think once I put the deck over it, just the amount of clay that we have, it'll stay pretty well. Mostly I've been walking around it and that causes it to cave in when you stand on the edge like that. So I put these tarps just to stop the rocks from working their way underneath the edge of the pool, and as the pool gets to rocking the bladder, those rocks will kind of find their way pinched up underneath the corner. Okay, one modification I did here, the Hayward skimmer, huge plus. Definitely love having it. There's a lot of videos out there on different ways to do it. I'm going to take a quick shot of how, I guess, high mine is, because I wanted to make use of the higher pool level whenever I bought it. So my water level is low right now, so you see, like, try to disturb it some, you can see. So my water level is pretty low, works out good for the youngest kid. He can stand up and not have to swim the whole time. But I got it right above, I mean, that's one seam, and my screw hole is just above the first seam as far as where the not really stitching, but where it gets heated back together. And that seems to work out just fine. So if I were to bring the water level up to maximum, it would still be able to skim off the top. Like I said, that works out great. I kept the original return lines and kept the original valve for those, so I can close this valve and do full suction from the skimmer and really pull a lot of bugs off of the top, and it still doesn't create any additional pressure just with this full line. I did not do a shut-off valve here because inside those ball valves, it cuts it down to like an inch. So this has a full, 1.5 inch flow, and it goes, if you kind of walk it through, straight through a T, but it gets the most flow all the way back to the pump. So I can leave this open and get maximum, water turnover to really get it clean. But in the mornings, if I leave the cover off, I'll come out and shut that off and try to get as much bugs off the top before they sink as I can. Okay, so the next thing, just to show you a picture of that ladder from this side. So you can kind of see the bladder swells out. So the ladder came with a little bit of rocking, kind of back and forth whenever you were to step on it. It's pretty loose just because it comes in modular sections that make it easier to ship. So I added some rubber, kind of, shims, if you want to call it, behind each insertion point, and it made it a lot tighter. So that's a very sturdy ladder for getting in and out of. I bounced on it a few times and it did not budge. Okay, one other thing I've done with this cover right here is to add basically put this tape and a little hook on it. It really helps if you're by yourself and you want to take this thing off. You hook onto that with a rope and basically just throw it over the pool and then go on that side and pull it across, and it's like kind of a quick removal to get it to the other side without it sinking or pulling water with it when it goes. That's about it for this video. Here's kind of the height of the deck from the side, and here again is the big area of just missing dirt. So if I didn't do a deck, there would always be that slop on the side of it. It was tricky trying to keep in mind the winter cover for it. So I had this kind of relief in here, which was a great idea. There's just enough space behind here, even as the pool, wiggles, it won't pinch up against the side. It gets a little tight in those few areas, but it's actually kind of convenient because now I got my little underground walkway that I can get back up behind there and pull it down if I need to for those few months out of the year that I need to do that. Again, that's the, let me see if I can zoom in on that. Don't want to get in the pool to do this. Sorry guys, contrast isn't so great. But I basically made it such that a joist from, if you visualize it, from that 6x6 comes to the ladder, and then another joist from another 6x6 comes off of that wall to the ladder. So two, basically 2x10s meet at each rung for that ladder that comes down to get maximum support. And then there's a post, 4x4 post underneath each one of those. For most of them, I did dig a hole and do concrete inside it. One of them I did not. It seems to be working out fine. Again, I have clay, so it's not going to go anywhere, especially because I recessed it some and got some rocks, and we don't have much ground freezing issues like those up north. I think that's it. Those are just a few tips and tricks, and thanks to all those that have helped on the forum. I just wanted to do my bit to share back what I've collected. I've had this pool for 2 months now, so I've come a long way, and couldn't have done it without the help from people that share these kind of videos online. So thank you all, and have a good day.